few of these far places to which Papa usually went, it was a great surprise, then, when the men in Washington wrote and suggested that he go to Fire Island, which was really quite near. The reason the men in Washington asked Papa to go to Fire Island was that they wanted to print a document about the birds there, and they felt that Pye was the man for the job. An inhabitant of the island, one of the few all-year-round inhabitants, not a bird spotter or anything of that sort, just a regular inhabitant, her name was Mrs. A. Pulley, had discovered a puffin there. Bird spotter or not, Mrs. Pulley, having spent her entire life on this island, had plenty of sense about what birds you were supposed to see there and what you weren't, and she knew that a puffin was out of the ordinary. So she had reported it to the Bureau of Birds, which had promised an investigation. It was that curious about the puffin. And, in her turn, Mrs. Pulley had offered to rent her cottage to the ornithologist of Washington's choosing, at a very modest rental. She was that curious about the puffin and birds in general. Fire Island is a long and skinny island just south of Long Island, which is also a long and skinny island, though it is fatter than Fire Island and much longer. If Long Island had not been in the Sound just south of Connecticut, you might have been able to see Fire Island from Cranberry, town of the Pyes and Moffats. Probably not. But who knows? On a clear and sparkling day, who knows how far one sees? When Papa had received the letter about Fire Island from the men in Washington, he said that if his check from the Auk, one of the learned magazines for which he wrote, came on time, for the men in Washington said nothing about paying for the expenses, they just said, wouldn't it be nice to find out about the puffin and the Fire Island birds? He would pack up the entire family and take them along with him on this near and pleasant bird expedition. They could stay for the entire summer, he said, smiling his nice sideways smile. The check from the Auk had come on time. "Hooray," said Papa. "We can go. We can spend the whole summer. I can write 10 books," he said. Papa was always about 10 books behind in his writing. Rachel and Jerry had happened to be sitting on the little upstairs porch when they heard this astonishing news. At first they did not know whether to be happy or sad, for they had never before been away from Cranberry for that long a time. "What? The whole summer?" they said to each other. "Go to Fire Island for the whole summer?" It sounded like the hottest place outside of the sun that they had ever heard of. Excellent for winter expeditions, perhaps, but go to Fire Island for the whole summer? Just throw away the whole wonderful summer in Cranberry when there was no school and no Sunday school, only church to go to? They had a beach here, didn't they? Sandy Beach, dear Sandy Beach. Why go to another beach just because it had a different name? And they had woods here, didn't they? And brooks and fields and daisies and summer, long and wonderful summer. Just throw it all away, waste it. It would be like skipping a chapter in a book, or like having a chapter, the best one probably in the whole book, either torn out or so blurrily printed it could not be read. "The Moffats never go away," said Rachel. "No, neither do most people," said Jerry. "No, they sit on their porches and rock in the evenings, and they hose their lawns." Here in Cranberry it was nice. On misty days it smelled like the sea, for it was near the sea, and after a thunderstorm the town smelled particularly wonderful. The gutters gurgled merrily then, with the swift rainwater racing to the drains, with sticks for boats and chewing gum papers for rafts, bumping into each other as they were swirled along. A person could go barefoot in the wet and new-cut grass. Then Rachel hit herself hard on the head. "Am I crazy?" she asked herself. "Look at me, a girl who at last has a chance to go with a famous father on a famous expedition to watch birds, and what does she do?
She wishes she could stay home in Cranberry, same old Cranberry. Am I a nut? She asked herself scornfully. No, came the answer quickly. I'm really happy to be going. I'm going to be a birdman too someday, and this may be the beginning. I may be the one to discover an important discovery. About a feather, at least, if not the whole bird. Rachel waited tensely for what Jerry would say next. She liked life best when she and Jerry thought exactly the same about things, unless they were playing a game, of course. Then she would have to take an opposite side, or where would the game be? When Jerry's reaction did come, it was strong.
"What?" he squealed when he was certain that Papa was way up in his study, his eyrie, as it was called, and could not hear him.
What? Not go up to the woods and the reservoir every minute and catch frogs and cook them and eat them and everything, with Dick and his big dog Duke and me with my dog Ginger? Oh, he groaned. Then he fell silent, and Rachel wondered if she would have to go back to not wanting to go too, since he didn't, and this wasn't a game calling for opposite sides. But then Jerry said, "Well, you know what? There are breakers there. It is like Hawaii, and you can coast in on a breaker. I've seen breakers in moving pictures, colored pictures, and you roll in Waikiki."
"Oh, yes," thrilled Rachel.
"Besides, I may find some ancient specimen of rock, some unusual specimen, not a cranberry or a sleeping giant one, but an unusual one 1,000,000 years old." Specimens were what Jerry was interested in, not birds that fly away before one can be sure what they are, but specimens of rock that may be scrutinized at leisure in one's room by lamplight, late. Rocks were always tumbling out of his pockets, wearing holes in them. He loved rocks. He didn't know whether there were any rocks on Fire Island or not, but who ever heard of any place, except perhaps the desert, without some rock? Probably Fire Island was named Fire Island because when the earth broke away from the sun, probably that part cooled last, he said to Rachel, who nodded understandingly and admired this display of scientific knowledge. She secretly vowed to read Popular Mechanics from A to Z, as her brother did, so she would know something. "It's probably all just plain hot rock, cold now, though," she suggested, hoping the latter was the case.
Papa had been too excited and happy to stay up in his study and work. After all, this was the first all-summer-long vacation he had ever taken his family on, and naturally he was pleased. He joined Jerry and Rachel on the little square porch. "I suppose we'll have to take Ginger somehow or another," he said. "Ginger," said Jerry, "did you know that you are going on a trip?" Ginger wagged his tail and leaped up ready to go. Ginger was known throughout Cranberry as the intellectual dog, because once he had found one of Jerry's pencils, tracked Jerry to school, and gone up the fire escape with it to Jerry's very classroom. Of course they had to take him. Moreover, he had been lost from Thanksgiving Day until the 29th of May. Rachel and Jerry had only just been reunited with him. They couldn't part with him again, leave him behind. Someone might steal him again, such a smart dog. The Pyes could not take a chance like that. And besides, imagine Ginger's eyes when he saw that he was being left, the awful look in his sad eyes. "Yes," said Papa. "Bring Ginger, of course, but not Gracie. Gracie cannot come." "What?" exclaimed Mama, who was running the mop around the upstairs hall and hearing every word they said. "What? Not bring Gracie?" "No," said Papa. "I can't have that cat chasing away the few birds there are on that island. She can stay with Grandma." Mama shook her head firmly and banged the mop against the banister. "She's got to come," she said. Gracie had been a wedding present to Mama and Papa, and she was known all over town as the New York Cat. "Gracie would pine away," said Mama.
she would miss me so,